have 2-ply and you have 4-ply. Good God! Hey blasters, Sean from Blue Dog Blasting, and today we're going to cover our blast hoses. We've got a couple different blast hoses on the website today, mainly our Panblast, which is our blue striped hose, and we also carry the Thunderblast green striped hose. Now a lot of you guys know the Thunderblast because it's got a little bit more brand recognition. Thunderblast is going to come standard on a lot of equipment out there, and you also see it out there because it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say overproduced, but a little bit more available by guys like us at Blue Dog Blasting that sell to you guys out there that are doing the blasting. So I wanted to cover some of the differences because both are great hoses, both of them are going to get the job done for you, and both of them are really in the same ballpark as far as price goes. So both hoses are going to feature the same outside wraps that is abrasive resistant. There's no static buildups of any sorts on these hoses. They're also weatherproof, ozone proof, all that fun stuff. So being left outside, they should last a good long time before you have any issues. Obviously, you know, it's just like a car tire. If you let it sit for years sitting outside not doing anything, you'll get some dry rot and you need to replace it. But for the most part, this stuff is built to be outside. You don't have to put it under a shed or in a garage or whatever after work. You can leave it sitting outside on your rig. It's not going to hurt it. Sun's not going to fade it or anything like that. So both of them are kind of made for doing some work. And one of the things I want to go over is the 2-ply versus 4-ply on these. So what I did was I grabbed a 2-ply and a 4-ply of the Panblast, the blue stripe stuff, and this is 15-130 and 15-230, which means they both have an inside diameter of 1 inch. I want you to take a good look at that, because that's your 1 inch on the inside diameter. Look at that thickness difference between the 2-ply and the 4-ply, and that's what really makes the difference. So even though it has the same inside ID, and all your couplings, if you remember from a previous video, your couplings are based off of the inside ID of your hose. However, that scale is always made up by 4-ply. So having a same inside diameter on a 2-ply and a 4-ply is the difference between a Q1 coupling and a Q2 coupling. So you're definitely going to need two different couplings on these, but because those hose couplings do couple together, I'll cover how that's important in just a second here. So you got your 2-ply and your 4-ply, and your 2-ply is definitely a little bit more bendable. In fact, you can bend this to the point where it crimps in the middle, whereas your 4-ply definitely takes a little bit more effort, and it doesn't even crimp. It's just kind of stuck into that position. Now our Panblast, which is our blue stripe hose, is definitely a bigger, beefier, contractor, industrial style hose. This sucker will take being beaten up, dragged through the gravel, ran over by guys in their trucks that don't care that you're out there sandblasting and everything else. But the 2-ply stuff is a little bit more manageable, a little lighter, a little bit more pliable, and especially when you're at the nozzle, a little bit easier to kind of bend and twist to whatever you need to get done. And that's why a lot of times the big contractor guys that are out there doing God knows what, and everybody doing God knows what to their hose, they'll do a big length of this 4-ply stuff coming from their blast pot to where they're blasting, and then they'll do what's called a whip hose. And they'll grab the same 1 inch diameter, just like our 4-ply 1 inch, and they'll couple that with about 10 to 15 feet worth of whip hose. And that way the operator doesn't have to lug around this big heavy hose and try to bend it into the direction that they're blasting. They can grab a little 2-ply and do just as good of work, if not better, because it's a lot more manageable and it's a whole lot lighter, so they can get the job done a whole lot easier. Now the reason I said something about the couplings is because the couplings might fit over the hoses and require different couplings, a Q1 and a Q2, but they're going to couple together just fine with that 2-claw foot. So it'll twist, lock, pop into place, and that way you can just pop it in and get to work. Now, with the Thunderblast hose, this stuff is just a little bit more manageable, and I'm sure you guys have seen it and probably played around with it and everything else. A little bit more pliable, especially when you get into the smaller stuff. You can pretty much tie it into a knot if you wanted to. It's nice and easy, and still get around and do a lot of work with it. And then the 4-ply stuff is also good quality material. It does bend a little bit easier, and like I said, it's a little bit less expensive, but it comes with that brand recognition of Thunderblast. So that's pretty much the difference between the hoses that we have on our website. We've got two different manufacturers. We got the blue stripe and we got the green stripe, the Panblast and the Thunderblast. The Panblast stuff is a little bit heftier, a little bit beefier for you guys that are really out there abusing this stuff. That's the route that you want to go. If you're kind of doing a little bit more hobby stuff, or not necessarily worried about some schmo driving over your frickin' hose, then you could definitely do the Thunderblast stuff. It's going to hold up just as well. Besides the two manufacturers, you got your 2-ply and your 4-ply. We kind of covered all the issues there. If you have any questions or comments, get in touch with me over at Blue Dog Blasting. Leave some comments below if you want to have a conversation about this stuff. If you've got any reviews or anything, you could do that right there on the website underneath the product and click reviews. And if you're signed in, just feel free to leave a little pro or con so the next guy knows if it's good stuff or not. And as always, get out there and blast. And you could also use the 4-ply blast hose as a baseball bat. It's that simple. Use it however you need to get out there and blast.
Get up and blast. Ow, threw my arm out.